I think what happened, if you go back to the 1970s in the UK, manufacturing, industry, engineering, infrastructure, that whole industry, it was broken. It was broken in a big way. It lacked innovation. Labour relations were shocking. Employers' relationships with the unions were terrible. So it was all in a mess. And of course, for those of you who weren't there then and you've read the books, you will have known that we had this sort of Margaret Thatcher factor that really, did a job of resolving a lot of those issues, and by that it actually meant destroying some of those industries. Coal mining, would be an obvious example. That was basically destroyed as an industry because it was felt the only way that you could sort it out was actually to close most of the coal mines and buy your coal from somewhere else. So the whole thing is that engineering just got a bad name. He had this dirty, grimy, not very efficient, not very good innovation image, and that's why I think the nation just sort of fell out with it, and said, well, that's not where I'm going to want my son or daughter to go and work, because A, there's no future, and B, it's dirty and it's grimy, so we did actually go into just a very bad period of not talking up engineering. So I think, it was a mistake to then not start on a journey to invent a new industry much sooner than we did. It's taken us far too long. But the good news is we're sort of there now, and there is more passion for it, and that's why we're promoting young people to get into the industry much more, because there is a skills gap.
But you have said on a much more positive note that Britain is again falling in love with engineering. How do you rate the ability of Britain to keep that flame alive?
I'm very positive, and I'll tell you why I'm positive, and that is that whilst we saw a lot of our industry disappear, we did actually, manage to keep some, really rather good gems of manufacturing and industry. So it wasn't like everything disappeared, and as a matter of fact, 10% of our total output of GDP is still manufacturing in the UK. And so, we kept the good bits of manufacturing and invested in those and innovated. And the other strong point that the UK always had and retained is an incredibly strong science base. So we have some brilliant universities here in the UK. And whilst through this more difficult period, we just allowed a lot of that science and innovation and the patents that came out of university to be commercialized, so to be turned into product by other countries. So we were doing the science and other countries were then turning them into product to sell back to us. What we're now saying is actually we've got all of this knowledge here in the UK. Let's just put more effort in and create a more supportive environment so that we can actually innovate and we can actually make the products here. And that's, I think, so on that basis, I think we've got a good future as long as that's what we keep doing.